Welcome back to Weekly Reflections with Salt and Muggs. We are back for another week. Muggs, how we doing today?
Salt, how we doing?
I'm blessed.
Very well.
Yeah, we're blessed, man. We're blessed. What's on your mind right now? That's what I want to know.
I'm just, kind of in a new job here as a college chaplain. I've been in campus ministry and ministry as a priest for, decades. And it's hard to say, but I am actually a little older than I once was. Younger than I'll be, that's not unusual. No, it isn't strange. And after changes upon changes, we're more or less the same. After changes, we're more or less the same. That's from Simon and Garfunkel, the boxer, their concert in the park years ago. But I'm asking myself, how can we as a campus ministry, as a Grace Center for Faith and Formation and Community, help young people?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do young people need? What are young people looking for?
Yeah. I mean, but the first thing that comes to my mind, I think, is meaning and purpose. I think a lot of people are trying to find meaning to their lives, trying to find connection, belonging, things of that nature, especially in college. You know how formidable those years are.
Yeah, and I mean, I was like that when I wasn't looking for meaning when I was in college. That was the whole problem.
Oh, gosh.
I was just looking for a good time.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, this is the one time in life when you really have the opportunity, the space, the time.
Yeah.
The time to reflect and ask ourselves, who are we? Who am I?
Mm-hmm.
And who do I want to be? Who do I want to become? How can I choose? Thomas Merton said the purpose of a college is to help young people save their souls and to save the soul of their society.
That's deep.
I love that idea. Our soul is our deepest, truest self. It's where our heart is, where we form who we are. And when young people look for meaning, I wonder, what are they doing? In your experience, what are young people doing to find meaning?
Well, I mean, I think it's really hard because we talk about self-examining, and kind of spending time here. I think it's really hard to find real purpose and meaning when you're constantly being stimulated and pulled in a million different directions by what's going on outside of you.
So the first thing I should suggest is that take some time
Yeah.
to young people. Slow down.
Yeah.
Take 15 minutes a day. Carve it out. Make it a practice.
Mm-hmm.
I go to the gym 3 times a week, once a year. It's not working.
Oh, man.
But if you go to the gym 3 times a week, every day, 5 days a week, you'll see the effects. You'll see the cumulative power of that practice. The same way with taking some time to reflect. I would call it to pray. Some people would call it mindfulness.
Yeah.
Some people would call it communal liturgical prayer, like the Muslim prayer 5 times a day, or the Liturgy of the Hours 5 times a day that Catholics do, or the Mass, or the Rosary. All these things calm you down, can stop what has just been racing in one's mind the whole time. And I guess I would really suggest to young people to just, first of all, take some time to do this.
Mm-hmm.
The way you take time to brush your teeth, you take time to shower, you got to take some time to care for your soul, for your mind, for your mental well-being, for your emotional stability.
You were an athlete, right?
Yeah.
So did you ever struggle with identity when you stopped playing sports?
Yes,
You did?
but in a very small way. I mean, I played football in high school, and I played football at Lafayette and lacrosse at Lafayette. But I remember a very specific moment. I was a Jesuit novice, and there was all a bunch of young guys.
What does that mean for people that don't
That's the first 2 years of Jesuit training.
Okay.
So you're in the Jesuit order for 2 years to discern whether or not you want to be a Jesuit priest and spend your life this way.
This was after you graduated.
Actually, I went to college for 2 years.
Okay.
Kind of ran out of money, but also ran out of purpose. I was just like, why am I spending this money? I was getting a lot of money for football, but I still had to take out loans. And, I didn't know what I was doing after 2 years in college. I liked Lafayette. I learned a lot. I really liked history, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. And for some other problems in life, I ended up taking a year off to think about this. And I started working in a hospital as an orderly.
Okay.
A nursing home first as an orderly,
Wow.
and then in a hospital. But so I'm in the Jesuit novitiate. I'm 21 years old, and it became very apparent to me that one of my fellow novices, who I'd known for 3 or 4 months, He had no idea that I'd been a football player. And it was like, well, if he doesn't know I'm a football player, like, he how could he not? That's so important.
Yeah.
And then I realized, for most people, the fact that I was a football player wasn't all that important at all.
That's really good, though.
But it is like that. It's you can't find all your identity in what you do. You can't find all your identity in what you're going to do for a living.
Wow.
You can find some. It's important. You have to make a living, but you also have to make a life. And I would hope I could suggest to young people that making a life is based on daily choices, on life choices, on commitments, and on relationships.
Wow.
We are our relationships. See, when our whole relationship is to ourselves as football player or swimmer or
Basketball.
physics student, basketball. Basketball players, though, are, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, he was a really reflective guy.
Oh, yeah, he was, actually. No, that's very true.
Larry Bird even read books, I heard.
Very true.
But, we have to ask ourselves, what relationships are we giving ourselves to, our heart to, our soul to? And what relationships do we want to foster and help grow? And what relationships should we just let slide away? And some we may hold on to for a while, and it's good, but it may be good to let that relationship to my identity as football player or my identity as best singer in the choir or my identity as the lead in the school play, come to college and begin to mature and realize that what we really are people who are loved by God, and we are called to love one another. And we can find meaning, we can find hope, we can find purpose and trust in our relationships with one another.
Wow.
What's your take on kids' relationships with their parents? When I was younger,
Oh, man.
I was a product of the baby boom. We were
Yeah.
thrown out on an asphalt playground at recess and told to figure it out. Kids today, some people have such good parents.
Yeah.
But it can be hard to kind of separate a little or tell those parents, no, I don't want to be an accountant. I'd rather be a historian. But you're not going to make a living. Let's check it out. Let's see. David McCullough made a lot of money on his books on history, let me tell you. But you have to follow your deepest, truest desires. Sometimes your parents will help you with that. Sometimes you have to challenge your parents and say, I gotta figure out who I am.
Yeah.
But we don't do that in isolation. And we don't decide who we are autonomously and ignore everybody and everything else.
Yeah.
The whole of reality is relationships.
Yeah.
And to understand that, to begin to learn about that. One thing I've been harping on a little bit this semester with some of the preaching I've been doing, I really think college kids, college students, college men and women should really realize that they are right now preparing themselves probably to be married someday and probably to be parents. And you have to develop the practices, you have to develop the discipline, you have to develop the capacity for self-sacrificing love that will entail.
Wow.
And it's not like that's an imposition. The more you do that, the happier you will be. The more you do that, the more you reflect on that and figure out how to do that for yourself, for your people in your family, your loved ones, the more you will be at peace. I think it's this sense that I've got to figure it all out myself, or it's all on me, that puts a lot of pressure on young people that could be alleviated by more vulnerability and dependence on one another. There's a TED Talk by a woman named Brené Brown.
Brené Brown, she's amazing.
Well, her TED Talk on vulnerability, I make everybody who asks me to marry them, I ask them to watch that TED Talk.
Okay.
I've shown it to Jesuits. Even Jesuits, like universally. Jesuits never agree.
Wow.
A bunch of Jesuits never all agree on
I didn't
the
know
thing.
that.
But this vulnerability, her talk on vulnerability is really what life is all about. Instead of developing myself so that I can fend off all threats, vulnerability is trusting that life is good, that life is wonderful, despite all evidence to the contrary. deep down, life is to be enjoyed. Life is all about love and loving and being loved. And that's where kids, I think, young people today too, tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, go ahead.
They are so concerned about being judged.
Yeah, that was, 100%.
Now, I don't know where I got it. I don't have a thick skin. I've got armor. I don't care what anybody thinks about me.
Yeah, I
you
can
know?
tell. I can tell.
But I do realize that a lot of people are not like that. But if they don't love you, if they don't pay you, who cares what they think?
I know.
I mean, the other thing is, I could see, like, if your mother says, if you're walking down the street and some poor, deranged person, street person, confused person, whatever, walks by and says you're ugly, what do? You look and say, who's that idiot?
Right,
I don't
right.
care what he says. If your mother says you're ugly, that's a problem.
Yeah, that could.
Because the people who are close to us should affirm us, should build us up.
Yeah.
We should affirm them, build them up. We should be in relationship. And St. Ignatius says, love is expressed more in deeds than in words. We should really show our love by serving one another, by caring for one another, by helping one another. And when you get into that, you can make your own judgment. I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing the good thing. I don't care what anybody else thinks. And I think that's where peer pressure comes in. Hopefully by college we're getting out of that, but maybe not.
Yeah.
But in high school, you're so worried about what the other kids are going to think about. And that's normal.
Yeah, it is.
It's normal. But you work on yourself in these practices of self-reflection to, decide, what do you really want to be? Who do you really want to be? Do you really want to be what that idiot in algebra next to you thinks you should be? Or are you going to listen to your parents who feed you and put a roof over your head?
Well, I mean,
let you drive their car.
Yeah, that's tough. When you were talking about like love is expressed in deeds, not words, I feel like that is an internal state of being. Like you're only gonna express what you got going on internally. So if you don't love yourself, if you don't have a good foundation internally, I don't think you're gonna be able to show up for that way. So speaking on parents, like my answer to you going back to that is I think a lot of what I've seen, I've worked with kids, a lot of parents are still navigating a lot of stuff. Let's just use it like let's just put it like that. And so I think that it's really tough for kids in today's age to figure out who they are when you come from a very shaky foundation.
Well, and that's another kind of broad brush observation. When I was a kid, you had some like super duper Beaver, Leave It to Beaver families. You don't even remember Leave It to Beaver, right?
No, I don't.
The 1950s TV shows of these perfect families. And you had Peyton Place and some things with real problems. But everybody else was kind of in the middle, kind of okay, kind of with some problems. Now I think I see families that are just wonderful, or I see families that really have real problems. And if you come from a family with real problems, you have to learn how to forgive. You have to learn that your parents do the best they can with what they have. That's one way of moving beyond some of the hurt and some of the difficulty that comes from growing up in a dysfunctional situation. There's a fascinating woman named Mary Karr, K-A-R-R. She's over at Syracuse University. She's a poet and she writes memoirs, a memoirist or whatever you call them. Her memoirs are fascinating. And she grew up in a crazy childhood.
Really?
And how she navigated her life and how she came to where she is today is really fascinating. And much of it had to do with her surprisingly going to college, which for her family was just, unthinkable. Or just she didn't come from a background where people normally went to college.
Wow.
And she got into college, and she gave the commencement address at Syracuse a few years ago. And she talked about this teacher, Walt, who when she was a freshman kind of noticed her, that she felt a little uncomfortable. She felt a little at sea. So he just kind of took her out to lunch and started talking to her. And eventually gave her a little job in a lab. And she said, they had me babysit their kids, even though they were young teenagers, and they didn't really need babysitters. But they were just giving me a job. They were just helping me out. And she says at the end of her college experience, Walt had helped her out so much, helped her grow, helped her immerse herself in the college and learn and become a person who could write for a living. She thanked Walt. And she said, what can I do for you? And Walt said, just buy lunch for somebody someday. In other words, we all can do some little thing. And a lot of kids who maybe didn't have the best parents, there's a lot of people around here who will do things for you, who will help you if you just let people know what's going on. That's the other thing. Kids from dysfunctional backgrounds. Look, my family was not all together, let me tell you. They have shame. And shame is one of the most powerful emotions. It can so contour our lives. And to get beyond shame, to realize that there is nothing to be ashamed about. Unless you're like an axe murderer or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, if your parents are divorced, if your sibling is struggling with whatever, it's not on you. People will more help you with it and have sympathy and empathy for you than judge you for it. That's that Brene Brown talk on vulnerability. To let somebody know what's really going on can really change things. My parents got divorced when I was a kid. And I remember I was in this Catholic grade school, and this was like the late 60s, early 70s before, well, it was when divorce was really skyrocketing. But, in my Catholic parish, it was still kind of, divorce. So I was in like 6th grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I never told anybody my parents had separated and eventually got divorced.
Really?
So I thought nobody knew. It's a Catholic parish in Philadelphia. Everybody knew. But there was a moment in my 8th grade year, I'll never forget Beverly Wellman. She wasn't my girlfriend, but she was a gal friend in the grade school. Teresa was my girlfriend. But Beverly, very gently, I don't know how that we were out in what was called the polo field. It was where kids hung out in my neighborhood. And Beverly let me know that she knew that my parents had broken up. And the way she did it was so empathetic and so communicating it's okay. And it was like, oh, duh. Everybody knows this. But I thought, hey, yeah, nobody's judging me for it. There's no shame. I mean, I'm not the only kid whose parents are broken up.
Yeah.
But, these are things that you have to live through and you have to open yourself up to. And you have to get lucky to bump into a Beverly Wellman. The other one, you want my other good one, is Peggy Ryan.
Okay.
I was at first. If I ever meet Peggy Ryan again, Peggy Ryan lived in a house. They had like 8 kids in the family. I was the paper boy. I used to throw the paper boy at their house every morning. And Peggy Ryan was in 8th grade, and I was in 1st grade. And I would walk in to get milk. The 8th grade girls would be taking the milk money and giving milk and cookies and stuff. So I walked in every day, and Peggy Ryan is big 8th grade girl, beautiful black hair, green eyes. She was a beautiful Irish girl. She comes over. She'd always grab me and go, Ricky Malloy.
8th grade?
She's in 8th grade, but I'm in 1st. So she'd come over and she'd grab me and rub, and she'd hug me. She'd go, Ricky Malloy, you're so cute. And I'd walk away and say, wow, I'm cute. Peggy Ryan thinks I'm cute. Now, what if Peggy Ryan had said, oh, you're an ugly little squirt?
Then you probably...
But she didn't.
Yeah.
She made me, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
I was a cute kid, I guess.
I want to know your thoughts on the scripture, Romans 12:12, where it says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I feel like that goes into a lot of what we
A lot of what young adults have to deal with is a script given them by the culture, especially athletes, especially male athletes. What's the script? You're supposed to be tough. You never cry. You never share your emotions. You go out and try to get drunk and laid as much as you can. That's what life's all about. Play ball, hang out with the guys. That's the script. Is it life-giving? Is it transformative? Does it help us really become who we want to ultimately be? Does it prepare us to be good husbands, good fathers, good members of society? So the Christian vision, as many people argue this, that the Christian community came into the Roman Empire where the script was pretty much that, and the Christians said, no, we're not going to do that. It's not life-giving. It doesn't help us. And I think a lot of kids come to college and they think they have to drink and jump into bed with everybody. And, most people after a year or two begin to realize this is not working.
Yeah, shallow.
It's shallow. It leaves you a little empty. It causes a lot of drama. Oh, my God, the drama. And people talking about you. What do you really want? What do you really want? What people really want is to find somebody to love, to have babies, and get old with. They did a big study. I got this book I used to teach, Intimate Relationships, which is a 300-page book with all this research on relationships. And they asked people, how many sexual partners do you want? Very surprising answer. Everybody, all the guys in the class, like, oh, everybody wants like 50, 100, 100,000. Most people said they want one.
Wow.
They want to find one person with whom they can share their lives, with whom they can express love in an intimate fashion, in a way that builds up their life.
It's beautiful.
And anybody 25 years old or older will tell you, sex is wonderful, but it ain't the most important thing in life. You can't convince a 14-year-old boy of that, but you know, it's this script that comes at us from you know, Charlie Harper and 2.5 Men. And then you watch The Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory was very interesting. The Big Bang Theory started off with all these nerdy little guys wanting to get laid. But by the end of the show, what they really wanted was to be married.
Wow.
What they really wanted was to be good husbands and good fathers. It's very interesting. And then the sequel, Young Sheldon, that was a beautiful show about fatherhood and motherhood and family. And Young Sheldon, the father in Young Sheldon was such a cool guy. He was a football coach, and Young Sheldon was this nerd beyond nerds, right? And there was a point where the football coach father had to take Young Sheldon like to Houston to see some rocket museum or something. And the football coach father was not interested in this science at all. But he went because he loved his son. And he wanted to be a good father to his son. There's a lot of good stuff in that show. A lot of funny stuff in that show.
What
Yeah, both of them, all
both.
three of them. But I hate to say it, I do laugh at 2.5 Men. But the morals are just horrible in 2.5 Men.
Yeah. Also, did you see any like struggle with, you know, like in college, it's very easy to get in the mindset of like, I need to figure everything out right now. You know, I need to have my whole life figured out before I graduate.
Kids, let me tell you something. Go to any adult on this campus. Find me one who has figured it all out.
Right.
The good news is you don't have to figure it all out.
Yeah.
And the better news is that you get to spend your whole life trying to figure it out. And that's what makes things interesting and fun. Things can change. You don't have to make life choices right now. No, life choices are coming up rather quickly. 5, 10 years, you're going to figure out who you're going to marry or where you're going to live or what you're going to do, at least for the foreseeable future.
Right.
But figuring it all out is more like waiting for God to reveal it to us. You know, make God do God's job. You know, God loves us. Okay, what do you want me to do? What's the deal? And opening ourselves to that kind of relationship with God can help us realize that we don't so much have to figure it out as we have to live the adventure.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Don't need to figure it out, live the adventure.
Yeah.
I mean, that goes into like the what you were talking about with just all of the external noise and script. The script makes us think we need to figure everything out.
Well, the script also is oppressive in that it's all based on competition. And this is one of the problems with athletics. Athletics are great, but they then kind of make a script that all of life is competition and I'm winning or I'm losing.
Right. That's a very, very limiting mindset. That's very true.
But beyond that, we're always winning.
Always.
Even if you lose, you played the game and it was fun. That's what I loved about rugby. I played rugby back at Lafayette before anybody really knew how to keep score or anything. And it was just to go drink beer afterwards. But you know, rugby was just, you played for the fun of it. Studying and trying to get grades, and that's all a necessary requirement of a college and a university. But when you really get into learning, there's no grades. You know, do you really want to know what happened in the Civil War? Do you really want to know what quantum mechanics is all about? Do you really want to know what St. Thomas Aquinas and Bernard Lonergan say about God? And then life gets very interesting. And it's not so much figuring out, but just constantly learning.
Yeah.
And constantly opening yourself up more to the wonders of the human experience and doing things. I'm going to go to a museum this Saturday.
You are?
Yeah. I ran into somebody and she was telling me about museums. And
Which one?
I don't know.
Oh,
she knows someplace in Syracuse. I went to the Philadelphia Art Museum once when we took a bunch of kids there. It was the Tanner exhibit. I like that. But I just don't go to museums. And, I'm kind of new here, and I was kind of thinking when she said that, maybe I should try something new in life. I mean, people go to museums. Maybe I'll go see why they do that. Now, I don't think I'm ever going to go to the ballet.
Yeah. I might actually.
I don't know, but there's things in life that you try new things. When I tried fishing at 35, it became the passion of my life.
Wow, that's good. Yeah, it is important to try new things, and that goes into vulnerability. You have to be willing to be vulnerable and open,
and you have to be willing to look stupid.
Yeah.
What was it? Sing like there's no tomorrow, dance like nobody's looking, and just enjoy life. I think Satchel I got to get that quote. It was a great quote.
Okay, yeah.
But
get that.
Dance like nobody's looking. Who cares? No,
dance like nobody's
and the thing
watching.
is, nobody is looking at you.
I know. That's
or
very true.
the one I love telling young kids, especially, nobody is thinking about you. They are all thinking about what you think about them.
Yes, and you're doing the same about them.
Exactly. And you can't live your life worried about what other people are thinking. You can't control that.
Mm-hmm.
So why bother?
Very true.
And don't do things you don't want to do because you'll think that someone else will think you're cool or you're smart or you're
dangerous.
Yeah.
It's a dangerous game. Do you want to leave people with a message to take from this episode?
Yeah.
Before we finish.
I just hope that young people at Moyne, at Jesuit schools, young people everywhere, are really encouraged to find consolation in life. St. Ignatius says life is an alternation between consolation and desolation. And when you're in desolation, wait for the consolation that is sure to come. And when you're in consolation, get ready for some desolation that inevitably comes. But you stop for 15 minutes a day, make what St. Ignatius calls an examen. Realize God is with us, give thanks, and then examine what's going on in your mind. What are you thinking about all day? Do you really want to be going with that train of thought? Do you really want to be going with that emotion? Or do you want to say, okay, I'm going to just stop that. I'm going to try to go this way. I'm going to look for, I'm all worried about this test. Well, do I want to worry about it or do I want to study?
Right.
I'm all worried about, what my girlfriend or my boyfriend thinks about me. Let's talk. Let's be in relationship. And then you decide like what you're going to work on a little bit in the next 24 hours, and then you give thanks. It's just a way of examining, not so much in a sense of what's right or what's wrong, what am I doing good or what I'm doing bad. It's a way of examining where is God in my life? How can I cooperate with God? How can I do what's good for me and for others? There was a Jesuit who had a great line about the examen. He was born with one arm. He was a fascinating guy, Rick Curry. I'll tell you about him someday. He was worked with a lot of wounded warriors because with his one arm, he really understood people who were, especially amputees. He said he made his examen every day. He sat down, he would say, where have I been part of the solution and where have I been part of the problem?
That's a great prompt.
Go with where you're part of the solution, walk away from where you're part of the problem.
That's beautiful. Yeah, that's nice. And that's going to finish our weekly reflection, which I think is a great way to end the show. So that's it for today. We want to give our thanks to the LCTV for making this podcast possible in the studio space, to the Carroll College of Arts and Sciences, to the Grace Center for making this possible, and of course to the Put God First Foundation, whose support also helps to make this podcast possible. Don't forget to follow and subscribe to the Grace Center and LCTV in the links below so you never miss an episode. We will see you next week.
Thank you, Mr. Salter.
Yeah, thank you, Muggs.